All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome. I would like to go ahead and call our last Finance Government Operations Committee in this fiscal year to order at this time. I am Supervisor Otto Lee, the chair of this committee, along with our Vice Chair Supervisor Susan Ellenberg. With both of us present, we now have a quorum. Going to item number 2, which is the public comment. This is an item reserved for public to address the committee on any items that is not on the agenda, and the public would like to wish to address this committee. Items not on the agenda would be appropriate to speak at this time. We are not expected to speak on anything in extended discussion, and if any type of action is requested, we might place it on the future agenda. And statements that require response may be referred to staff for reply in writing. And Limber, would you please let us know of how many speakers we have for the public comment?
We have no public speakers.
How many speakers? I'm sorry?
None.
No, we have no speakers on Zoom or in person, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. And I'll go ahead and make a brief public comment on an issue I just observed yesterday by visiting the Hamlin Court shelter. As we know, this shelter is being transitioned to Bill Wilson Center starting July 1st. And what I'm noticing is that the census is dropping, now down to below 70 people in the shelter. And what's concerning to me is that since we're not accepting any more new members into this site, the number will continue to drop. And so and a lot of the people being evicted or being processed out don't really have a place to go. So I just wanted to ask the rationale why we're still processing people out at this point. I know it's not on the agenda today, so I'm just making it as a request to the administration to look into, and hopefully we could stop these, the numbers continue to drop and folks ending up on the streets. But that certainly is something important for this county, given our house situation. So I just want to bring it up, and if there's needed, we could do a scheduled future meeting. I know we don't have any meeting until August, but unfortunately this transition that's taking place is going to happen in the next 5 days. So there's some urgency to it. Just want to bring it to the attention to the county executive.
We can certainly provide information off agenda, and my understanding is there hasn't been a change in criteria, but we can.
Yeah, please let us know how we could do that. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And that being said, I'll go ahead and move to item number 3, which is approving the consent calendar and changes to committee's agenda. I have the following suggestion to consider adding to the consent today. Item number 8 is a report from the Valley Health Plan relating to broker contracting and related fiscal activities and implementation of internal control audit recommendations. And item number 9, which is the quarterly report from the Employee Services Agency relating to health plan performance reports provided by the ESA for county employee and retiree health benefits. Both of the items, I think we could probably deal with it under consent, 8 and 9. And Supervisor Ellenberg, do you have anything else to add or change to the consent calendar?
I will second your motion to move items 8 and 9 to consent. And I want to just comment briefly on item 13. That's the regular report on the behavioral health facility expansion. Happy to keep it on consent. I just want to express appreciation for the really strong progress that's being made on facilities expansion. All 53 of our acute beds at San Jose Behavioral Health are now fully staffed and in operation. So really very much appreciative of both our staff and the folks at San Jose Behavioral Health. Looking forward to the feasibility study reports on the RRC and 101 Jose Figueroa's coming back to FGOC in August. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll go ahead and second that motion. Yes, go ahead, James.
I just wanted to make a suggestion on item 9, which I think does make sense to have on consent, but as noted in the report, in the last, I think, 2 quarterly reports, for 2 out of our 3 health plans, the data only comes annually. And so my suggestion would be that the committee modify the reporting to be annual, because otherwise the reports will just not have content except annually.
I think it makes sense to have all 3 reported together.
Yeah, I agree as well. So we'll go ahead and add that to
And I think I seconded your motion, Supervisor.
There we go. All right, good. Thank you. So if I made the motion and you second it, then let's see if there's any members of the public who would like to address the committee on the consent calendar items right now. Limber?
We have no speakers, but I do need to make an announcement that item 9 is subject to the Levine Act. And any party and their agents must disclose on the record a contribution of more than $250 made to a board member, as described as page 3 of the agenda. Participants who have a financial interest and their agents are requested to make a similar disclosure.
All right, thank you, Limber. We don't have our Levine Ag Supervisor here today, but thank you for doing that. All right, no more speakers. Go ahead and close the public hearing, and let's go take the vote.
Chairperson Ellenberg,
Yes.
Chairperson Lee,
Yes, as well.
motion carries.
Thank you. All right, now let's go ahead and move to item number 4 on the agenda, which is a report from the County Communications Department relating to staffing, performance metrics, and operational priorities. And I believe today we have our Director of County Communications, Trisha Adcock. Good morning, Trisha, and you go ahead and introduce your rest of your team, please.
Good morning, supervisors. Thank you for having us. Yes, I do have my team with me. We do have a presentation, if you'd like to see it, just summarizing our report. I'm excited to share, but if you want to just ask questions, I'll be happy to do that as well.
Happy to hear the presentation,
Yes, let's go ahead, please. Thank you.
especially since you said you're excited about it.
Next page. Okay, so this last year, we've been giving FGOC members a quarterly report on our progress related to strategic recruitment, staffing, and overall performance metrics. I am excited to say that we are now at a 7.41% vacancy rate, which is significant from where we were last year at this time. We were a little bit below the nationwide standard of 25%, so we've been very busy trying to recruit for our vacancies. We put a lot of technologies in place to help with retention, and we'll go over that in the next slides. Another focus that we've been trying to combat is our attrition rate. For whatever reasons, we can hire people, but we seem to have troubles keeping them. We are at a 5% decline, which is also good. And I also think that is attributed to some of the measures that we've been focused on the last 3 years or so. We've been able to not only recruit and fill our vacancies, but we are seeing an increase in retention. And we'll speak to that soon. We've also been reporting on reasons why we've been struggling with our retention. When we do lose our dispatchers, we do exit interviews, and these are some of the reasons why they've identified they're leaving. There are some retirement, probationary release. They weren't suited for the job. It is a hard job. It's challenging, and it wasn't, for some folks, it's not what they thought it would be. It's not like they see on TV. It's a little bit more challenging. Personal reasons, they don't like working weekends. They don't like shift work. They don't want to miss holidays with their family, which is significant. So we are 24/7, 365. Or the cost of living in the area. They have to relocate out of the area. They don't like the commute. They spend more time either at work or on the road and less time with their family. So those are another reasons why they leave. Because the vacancy rate is high in this field across the nation, we are competing constantly with our neighboring dispatch centers. So most of the time, if they're applying for our agency, they're also applying at other agencies as well. So there is a competition with other 911 centers. Sometimes we lose to other departments.
One of the areas we want to highlight is our efforts to retain dispatchers and provide wellness and support We've teamed with the Wellness Division within the county over the last several months to provide on-site support and events, as showcased here during our Dispatcher Appreciation Week. Further, we have had opportunities for outside subject matter experts to come into county communications to provide training and support to our staff over the last 6 months. That's been well received. Our hiring efforts have maintained a consistent tempo through the last several years, even with our technology changes and implementations, and our class sizes have increased with increased recruiting efforts. We've seen our class sizes near 10 the last 2 academies, and we are nearing a full code situation. In terms of our performance, key department performance indicators that measure progress includes our vacancy rate, attrition rate, and the average mandatory overtime. The evaluation and analysis of these performance metrics provides the opportunity to evaluate the effectiveness of all implemented strategies. Our MOT numbers are impacted by that. Our MOT numbers have stayed fairly consistent in recent months, but part of that is because we are training. So as we've implemented new technologies and brought in new dispatchers, obviously it requires the ability to train them with the on-the-job phase, but we're also upgrade training our dispatchers to Dispatcher 2, Dispatcher 3 to provide better opportunities to work in other communities with other dispatch components, fire, police, medical, and promotional opportunities. So there's a significant lift occurring right now to upgrade our staff to take on additional responsibilities.
Some of the operational priorities that we've been focused on, and we will continue to focus on, obviously, is reduce our overtime. That's our #1 goal. That will increase work-life balance for our dispatchers. Some of our staff, I'm sad to say, have never known a county comm without overtime, mandatory overtime, and that is very troubling to me. I myself started when we did not have mandatory overtime, and I remember what it was like, and it was much better work environment. So that is a continued focus of ours to allow that work-life balance by reducing the mandatory overtime numbers. We feel that will increase retention. It will inevitably increase our staffing because it's a better place to work and it would be more attractive, and overall just provide department-wide well-being. If we have all of those components, we will also focus on our performance with some of the technologies that we brought on of emergency protocol, police dispatching, and fire dispatching. We've recently received accreditation as an ACE center in fire dispatching, and our goal, long-term focus, would be also to obtain police accreditation as well. So we would be a tri-911 center for ACE accreditation. And that's it, and we're open to any questions you may have.
Great, thank you very much. Let me ask Supervisor Ellenberg, would you like to hear from public first? Anybody in public like to ask about this issue?
We have no speakers.
No speakers today? Go ahead and close the public hearing. Supervisor Ellenberg, go ahead.
Thank you so much for the report. I really appreciate hearing about the retention strategies. What is the sweet spot of number of employees that you would need to eliminate mandatory overtime?
I think we're actually at that sweet spot now. We are projecting, and that just based on the trend we've been seeing the last few months of trainees becoming certified and having the ability to work independently, having that number increase. We're looking hopefully by the fall.
What do you mean by working independently?
So in terms of our training process, it takes approximately 6 to 8 months once they've graduated the training academy to be independent of a trainer and be counted as a signed-off dispatcher.
Got it.
And
okay,
so
thank you.
based on our current tempo, our expectation is late summer, early fall, we will see benefits.
Got it. Thank you. Of course, there's some things you can't change. The nature of the job is intense. It's shift work. Somebody has to be there on holidays and weekends, and of course, the cost of Bay Area living and commute time. So I'm interested, and it sounds like you're thinking of a lot of things. So I'm just wondering about further enhancing. Money is generally appealing. to people. Do we do cash bonuses or retention bonuses for even each year or 18-month period that we're here? I realize that's a contract negotiation, but is it part of the discussion?
We currently do offer a sign-on bonus to attract applicants.
It sounds like your bigger issue is retention,
Right.
though.
I believe the SEMA contract has some language in there for, not longevity pay, but performance pay. So that may be something that we look to
Yeah.
encourage retention.
And I saw that light go on at at the word bonuses. So let's hear from the county exec as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we've looked at. You know, there is a progression, right? So dispatchers come in as a trainee, dispatcher 1, dispatcher 2, dispatcher 3. There's steps, you know, so pay goes up at a pretty rapid clip. And as you become competent in each of the communities, right, there's law, fire, and EMS, that's how you then qualify for the additional level of being a communications dispatcher, which has with it increase in pay. So we do have a structure that allows folks in pretty short order to escalate in pay. One of the, and we do of course look at comps with every cycle, and there was a relatively recent classification study for this classification that resulted in a realignment.
Yes.
I want to say maybe 18 months ago.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And the retention numbers have been better in the last couple of years. So do you think that
But
that
I do
restructure
think
is responsible?
the working conditions challenge is really the bigger issue more than just pay. There are some very, very small dispatch centers, and because they're very small, they have the ability, given how few FTE they have to staff, to be in a position that we're not able to be in terms of just straight pay. Because they only have a handful of folks that they need to employ, given how small they are.
Right.
But it's something that we do look at, and something that comes up with every round of negotiations, and I'm sure we'll come up again in a couple of years when we'll be back open with SEIU.
Sure. So the non-salaried or bonus piece, are there improvements or enhancements to the physical workspace that could make these more appealing? And I'd like to schedule a visit. I'll work with my team, because I can't actually picture what the spaces look like, which is, on me, that's
I can
problematic.
speak to that a little bit too. So a few years ago, the interior workstations were redone, but the physical building is not great, right? It's a 1950s bunker, doesn't have windows. You definitely should visit. It's a very old facility that's been obviously open and run 24/7 for decade after decade after decade.
Sorry, bunker with no windows?
That's right. You should go take a look. It's right up on Communications Hill. It's a
I will. Yeah, I'm getting a thumbs up from
was
my
1954, I think. Yeah, 1954 building.
Is that for security purposes? Why?
We weren't around in 1954, so I don't know why, but I
We're
assume,
rather young.
I assume that it was, built to withstand, attack from the Soviet Union or something.
Yeah,
It's that style of
cinder block,
yeah.
thick walls.
So is it on our, I know we have a huge list of
Yes.
capital improvements that are currently unfunded.
Yes.
Is
So we have in our capital improvement plan, and it is something that would be GO bond eligible. We have a need to have an essential services facility, which is essentially a facility that can withstand a very significant earthquake and be fully operational. So it's a much more expensive type of facility to build,
see.
because it has to have it has to be fully
they
operational.
can't move into an office building.
That's right. So it has to be upgraded to a certain standard, and we have a need for both county comm as well as our emergency operations center to have a facility space. So
Can those be co-located, or are there strategic reasons that they
no,
need to
they
be
could
separate?
potentially be co-located. So the long story short is, yes, it's on the capital improvement plan agenda. Yes, we're very familiar with it. When I was a deputy county executive, county comm was one of the departments that I worked with, and so I'm very familiar with the building. And so, you know, this is an item that we need to tackle in the coming years.
And is it all one site? All of our county comms works out of a single site?
Yes. Yeah, just right up on Communications Hill.
Okay.
We probably have the best view of the county.
It's a great view.
Outside.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
It
No,
is, it
that
literally is the
Okay.
best view of the county.
it's a great view of the county. It's the highest point on the valley floor. So from that standpoint, it's excellent.
Excellent, because the radio coverage is
Right, of course.
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense from that standpoint. But the building itself, not so much. I did want to say one thing on the vacancy rate. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the lowest vacancy rate you have had in decades.
yeah, I have never seen
And
it this low.
I mean, it's
That's
certainly
really
It's
impressive.
many orders of magnitude lower than when we were trying to tackle some of these challenges a decade ago. And so I really want to commend County Comm and ESA and others who've worked in real close partnership for years to kind of get us into that position. And I'm excited about that. And, you know, it's been a goal to eliminate mandatory overtime for a long time because everyone has long recognized the burdens that that places, especially, you know, when you talk about retention, you know, the newest dispatchers, because the way bidding for shifts and vacation works, it's based on seniority.
Of course.
And so that necessarily means, given that structure, which is something, by the way, we have in the past tried to talk about with the union, but it means structurally that our newest folks end up with the most challenging shifts and the least ability to take vacation at the most desirable times. They also tend disproportionately to be folks who have younger families. And so that is a problem. It's one that we don't have unilateral control over because it's a negotiated condition in the contract and departmental agreement. But that the mandatory overtime makes that situation even more challenging. And so we all, I think, very well recognize that probably the biggest thing we can do for retention is allowing that a little bit more flexibility there for the newer employees to have a bit better work shift
Right.
experience.
What's the total FTE count, no, at each shift? How many employees are working at a time?
Currently, we staff to 14 per shift, 14 and 14 for swing shift, and 9 during the night hours.
Okay. So probably too small to make financially feasible a childcare option, which of course could be incredibly helpful, especially overnight, but
It's been
with
looked at
that
in the
small a
past.
census and you don't know that they all have kids at any one time.
No, we actually looked at that probably around 2015 timeframe specifically. And not only is there the census issue, but it's a 24/7 operation, and the availability of providers for that service is challenging too. So
Everything is economics if we pay them. We just have to understand whether, you know, what the trade-off is paying them
it wasn't
really helping us.
even remotely economically feasible when we looked at it then by a big margin.
All right. Well, thank you for all of that time. I do look forward to visiting and really am impressed with the increase in retention that you are building towards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Ellenberg. I just want to first commend on this great news about the retention numbers. Since I've been on the board, this is my 4th year on the board, the issue of huge vacancy has always been something that I've been dealing with from the very first year when I first come to visit I think I've visited the site like a couple of times now, and I think the Dungeness feel of it, even though it's the top of the hill, was kind of odd. But I think you're right in terms of lack of window being very dark, and I think there's also some need that the lighting has to be a certain way in order for people to see the screens. There's so many of the big screens out there to identify all the different issues going on. So it's almost like a little bit of this Air Force One, you know, type of feeling of the operation of so much going on, and everybody obviously has something going on, and it's a very busy place with very high up tempo. So I just want to say, even though it's very quiet, it's designed to be quiet so that things are not going crazy, but at the same time we can see that there's a lot of activities going on. One thing I do want to mention that's already been said regarding mandatory overtime, you basically said that because a lot of that mandatory overtime was used in order for training, and now that a lot of the new folks have received the training by July or August, you believe that a lot of the mandatory overtime will no longer be necessary? Am I hearing that correctly, or am I misinterpreting
We'll
it?
see a significant reduction. Right now, we're sitting at 9 shifts per dispatcher.
Right,
We're hoping to drop it down to 4
okay.
or 5.
So less than half, or half of where
Yes.
it's right now, which of
Yes.
course will make a huge difference to people's quality of life, for sure. And then along with that, of course, is if individuals are willing to take the 9 shift overtime, that's something that's perfectly available, right? So that they might be able to take some
Yes, and
MOT
that's
from
available
others.
now. So while the number is 9 per dispatcher, some of them don't work any. Some of them,
Mm-hmm.
give their overtime to somebody else. Someone who wants to earn the overtime takes on more. So
Exactly.
they're not, they have that ability.
Exactly. So I just want to say mandatory doesn't mean you have to work all of them. Individually, people could swap these overtime, and you want to make more money, you don't have family to deal with, and you really want to be here, you want to stay away from family, you can, right? But that's the option of the employee. So that's important. So thank you. I did hear about some gripes from the SEIU regarding having some frustration of not having sufficient communications with labor relations and all that. So I just want to bring that to you. This is what I'm hearing, and if you could help improve that situation, whatever the issue is, that would be most appreciated. Maybe you can give us
Yes.
off agenda afterwards of how that's
Yeah,
been
and
done.
we meet monthly with we have monthly labor management meetings with SEIU and labor relations. We are working through some policy updates. They're taking a little bit longer to come to a consensus, but we still try to work on them collaboratively. So we'll continue to do so.
Yeah, I mean, just keep working at it, and now that you have the vacancy rate has dropped so significantly, I think that's great. And I see the attrition numbers too. I mean, before were double digits, now it's down to only 2 this year. Again, this year it's only halfway there. We still have halfway to go, but based on those numbers, looks like we have that attrition rate has dropped significantly less. And the reason for the attrition also is due to more of a performance issue type, looks like. And frankly, I mean, obviously, not everybody can handle this type of work. This is a very high-intensity work, and I think it's that type of attrition, to me, actually makes sense to make sure that we have the best people that we retain. So I just want to say thank you very much for the report, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Right, thanks. I'm looking forward to visit soon as well. Thank you. All right, if none, let's see if we have a motion.
I'll move that we accept the report with
And I'll go and
appreciation.
second it.
Vice Chairperson Ellenberg?
Yes.
Chairperson Lee?
Yes, as well. Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
All right, let's move on to item number 5, which is the quarterly report from the Office of Children Families Policy regarding the collection and reporting of programmatic and service data for the Santa Clara County Children's Budget. To present this item, I believe, is our Social Service Agency Deputy Director, Sarah Duffy. Good morning, Sarah, and you can introduce your team. Thank you. Good morning. Yep, your mic's not working
Good
yet.
morning. There
Here
we
we
go.
go. We can hear you
Yes,
now. Go ahead.
I'm joined here with our Budget Director, Greg Gaturia, and Senior Management Analyst from the Office of Children and Families Policy, Karina Alvarez. We have prepared a presentation which I can walk through, or we can answer any questions you may have.
Great.
Presentation.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to hear the presentation.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead
Okay.
and do the presentation, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. We'll pull that up. Okay, thank you. So today we'll give a progress update on the Children's Budget Data Collection and Reporting pilot. Move to the next slide. And I'll cover today what our process has been, partners, the data that's already collected, and additional data that's being collected during the pilot project timeline and next steps. Okay, so for context, at the Finance and Government Operations Committee meeting in December 2023, President Ellenberg requested a quarterly status update on efforts to enhance the reporting of programmatic and service data for the Santa Clara County Children's Budget. This report provides an update and includes information on our efforts thus far to collect comprehensive data. Currently, our Office of Children and Families Policy is partnering with the Office of Budget and Analysis to gather detailed programmatic and service data. And the purpose of the project is to create a centralized internal resource with investments pertaining to children and families to help inform future policies and identify funding gaps, as well as provide public-facing summary-level dashboards with new details on county investments pertaining to children and families. And the hope is that this resource will inform information available about contracts and services and lead to more effective partnerships across county departments as well as with external partners. We have been working thus far with the Division of Equity and Social Justice and the CEO and the Social Services Agency to pilot the updated data collection, analysis, and dashboard presentation process. Okay, so here are the partners again. Our office is leading this in partnership with the Office of Budget and Analysis, DESJ. We've also been working with the research and evaluation team, and they've been very helpful in assisting with the creation of programmatic forms, program categories, and demographic information to make sure that we're being as comprehensive and inclusive as possible, as well as analysis of submissions. And we're working with the Office of Data Oversight, Management, and Evaluation to create and develop new dashboards that will hold this data. Okay, so here you can see in this table a list of the data that's already collected and presented in the children's budget, which includes the county department, description of the program, the number of clients served, county funding, state and federal funding received, other funding received, and the net cost to the county. With the pilot, we are collecting additional information on program type, program focus area, language information available, age groups, whether the program prioritizes serving clients with disabilities, whether there's priorities serving specific racial ethnic groups, priority population data, contracts information, and more detailed funding source information, including the organization or agency that's providing the funding and a description of that funding source. So thus far, we have, if we look at the timeline here, we have worked quite a bit to develop the forms. We've held some workshops with SSA to introduce the forms and receive feedback. SSA is currently working on completing all of the forms, and we are meeting with SSA next month to look at the progress so far, and hopefully they'll be fairly far along completing information on all of their investments serving kids and families. And then the plan is to do the analysis and prepare reports on the pilot data collection in August and September, and then beginning in October, roll it out more broadly countywide. And that concludes the status update.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions, or would you like to hear from public first?
Of course, I have questions, and
Sure.
I'm glad to hear from the public first.
Anybody in public first?
We have no speakers.
If we can close the public hearing, go ahead, Supervisor Ellenberg.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on your new position, Sarah. That's very exciting and really speaks to an effort to, a very intentional effort to be more strategic in how we serve families and children. I wonder if you could give an example of just kind of walk through a case of using the data to improve a particular contract or program or service. I'm happy for you to make one up.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I'll think about some examples that we've collected through the Division of Equity and Social Justice, since that data collection is complete. And what we've done there is taken the list of all of the different programs and services currently in the children's budget and asked the different divisions within DESJ to look at those and add any programs that they may have. So every year there's new programs that are added, and with the additional information that we have, I'll give an example actually from the Office of Children and Families Policy to keep it really simple, so I'm not speaking on behalf of another office. We added a number of the programs that we're overseeing around childcare expansion. So we'll add, for example, the $13.5 million that's going to childcare expansion grants in the budget. And with that, we'll be able to identify priority populations. So in this case, it would be funding in communities that are in qualified census tracts. We will be able to identify actually the specific zip codes, the specific languages spoken with the different service providers, and of course, the ages served. This is really for families in 0 to 5. So that gives us a really great picture of those services and who's being served. And then we can share that, in this case, with external partners, so we have a really nice picture of where the county is investing in additional childcare. So this is intended to be a resource for internal county, but also for external partners. So when we're in conversations with, for example, City of San Jose, City of Gilroy around childcare investments, we can look at the data in this tool to have a very good picture of the services.
Do external parties, or will external parties have the ability to use it themselves, or we use it internally and then produce reports that are shared externally?
The latter. So the internal,
So it's an
there'll be-
internal-facing
That's correct. But
document.
it would be available to
Not document.
internally, and then the information can be used in meetings and planning and preparation with external partners.
So the dashboards are sort of an organizing or indexing tool? Is that?
The dashboards will be actually, I think you can think of them as kind of expanded versions of the existing children's data dashboards, where we can get more detailed on the summary level data. So for example, we can have more nuanced data on summary level kind of populations served, for example, or ages served. And we can look more specifically at how much money is going in to programming by age. So we'll have summary level dashboards available publicly, and then the internal will be more of almost like a database where you can search information.
Got it. And I clearly understand how that can help us reduce and eliminate redundancies, duplicative contracts, as well as identify gaps. Is there a tool, or is part of this this organization of information going to also help inform us about the impact of our dollars? For example, you know, we want to streamline our spending, we want to reduce redundancy. I also want to know how we measure whether children and families are doing better as a result of the money that we're spending, particularly, of course, the county dollars, where we have the most discretion and fungibility, as opposed to the state and federal pass-throughs.
Yeah, I think so. How I would think about doing that sort of analysis or having those conversations is identifying the population level metrics that we're interested in improving, right? For example, let's just take housing, or a number of families that are unhoused or experiencing housing insecurity, and then we can look at the investment over time and the clients served and the location of programs, and match that against what we know around unhoused or underhoused families to see where, when we're making decisions around investment of funds, we may not be investing enough.
Got it. So an objective counting of more families are stably housed.
Yeah, I take that example because it's a clear data point and we have good data on that. So, and then we can also kind of share that information in conversations with cities and other partners working on housing efforts.
Got it. And how, just as one last example that I want to ask about, the Latino health assessment that's ongoing right now, will that process utilize the database or the dashboards or the index that you're creating? And on the flip side, will you be pulling that information with regard to children?
That's a great question. I don't think the timing will work out such that the Latino health assessment will pull the children's budget data in, because it'll probably be another year plus before we have the comprehensive county data.
Got
But
it, okay.
the Latino health assessment should provide really incredibly rich information on the needs.
To go
of-
into our information as opposed to the
give us an
other way.
understanding of what
Okay.
the needs are, and then we can use those to kind of compare where investments are being made as compared to the needs.
Thank you. I'm just so pleased with this progress and the way we are finally starting to operationalize the children's budget. The first year, we printed this lovely, beautiful, colored document with lots of balloons, which looked gorgeous. I'm not sure how it was utilized. And now I understand more how we're utilizing. I think it's important to also be able to have some kind of literal, tangible thing, and whether we work with Kids in Common to incorporate into their children's data book, or the Silicon Valley Index to have a really robust section on the state of children. I'd really like to think about how we push what we're doing out. I'm not certain it's just printing the children's budget, which was beautiful, but I don't know how that would be utilized. What do you see as sort of a public-facing either document or really easily accessible analysis of what we're doing? Not analysis, presentation.
Yeah, I think there's opportunities to highlight, elevate kind of what we see as the critical needs of kids and families, pulling from either of those sources. Certainly the children's data book, which our office and County Office of Education spend a lot of resources kind of contributing information and pulling some of what we understand to be the key needs, and then using a tool like the children's budget to understand what resources are being used to address those needs. That those two pieces of information together, I think, should be really valuable in terms of planning and understanding the need against the resources. And then I think the third step is looking at how well those resources are impacting, right, the outcomes. So that's kind of part 3. So I think of it as needs assessment, and we also have, all of these other deeper dives like the Latino health assessment that should be informing things like the children's data book. So we have all this rich information and then around needs, and then we look at the resources, and then we want to measure the outcomes and adjust resources accordingly as much as possible. So that's how I think of kind of the flow.
Thank you so much. And just on my end, just saying out loud so I remember to do it, I want to make sure that joint venture includes the data from the children's budget and whatever else is growing from it when they're doing their overall analysis of the health of our community, because I think that's really important information that they may not have access to now. So thank you. Thank you all for this work. I'm really excited about it.
You have a motion?
I do. I move that we receive this quarterly update and look forward to the next.
And of course, I'll second it. And I just want to echo the comments that I want to thank the administration and your team for putting together this children's budget for our county. Certainly, data is everything we need in order to figure out what the gaps are so that we could spend our money wisely and truly able to make the difference to our children in our county. So thank you very much for the good work. And that's all I have, and let's go take a vote.
Vice Chairperson Ellenberg?
Yes.
Chairperson Lee?
Yes as well.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, then we are moving on to item number 6, which is the report from the Office of the County Executive relating to the 9-month update regarding the implementation status of the Management Audit Division recommendations. And we believe, James, go ahead.
Yeah, we're here to provide an update, and we don't have a formal presentation, but the grid is attached. We've made good progress on most of the items, including the report. Others are in process, and we're happy to answer questions that the committee may have.
Great, thank you.
And we have Michelle Seaton here, who manages the Office of the County Executive in a very excellent manner. So,
Good morning, Ms. Seen. You have anything you would like to add?
No, just available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anybody in public like to speak on this item?
We have no public speakers.
Great. I'll close the public hearing. Supervisor Ellenberg?
Thank you. I appreciate the updates. I think an important tool, likely for the whole county, but certainly for the board, would be a quarterly update to the Deputy County Executive Responsibility List and department directors, and particularly with two new board members coming in January. I think a kind of a real onboarding piece about how we're working from the top would be very helpful, and certainly speaking for myself, but I imagine the three of us who aren't new would benefit from that as well.
Sure. So we update that list when changes are made. So sometimes it's just whenever the assignment changes are made, but that assignment list is otherwise available, and we're working on a new website which will also
Okay.
help provide some of that information in a more public manner too.
A clear website would be helpful
Yeah.
as well. And what's the progress on that?
On the website?
Yeah.
I think it should launch this summer, is my understanding.
Yes, it should. This is for the Office of the CEO. Yes, that new website will launch this summer.
Okay, great. Still thinking about, again, onboarding new supervisors and how we make sure we have a really clear, good program from your office that kind of coordinates and leads that onboarding and orientation.
We're definitely giving thought to the kinds of materials and information related to onboarding.
Great. Thank you. That's all I have. I'll move receipt of the report.
Yes, I'll go and second that. Actually, I do have a few suggestions for the recommendation I'd like to request. So for recommendation 1.1, I would like to request that the off agenda report with updates regarding which divisions, departments, and functions are currently being looked at is being provided before the next FGOC meeting in August. For recommendation 3.4, I would like to ask for a confidential report or memorandum of the updated COOP, continuance of operations before the 12-month update. And for recommendation 5.2, I would like to ask for a time frame regarding the completion of the analysis by the county's actuary, also before the 12-month update. Are these doable there?
Yeah, I think those are all doable.
Okay, very good. And that's all I have. And that's my second to the motion. All right, seeing no further comments, let's go and take the vote.
Vice Chairperson Ellenberg?
Yes.
Chairperson Lee?
Yes, as well. Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, which is the report from the Office of the County Council relating to the status of investigations by the Equal Opportunity Division for calendar year 2023. And I believe we have our lead Deputy County Counsel, Relic Sun, and you can go ahead and introduce your team, please. Go ahead.
Is this on? Okay.
Yes, it's on. Yeah, we can hear you loud. and
Good
clear.
morning,
Good morning.
Chairperson Lee, Vice Chair Ellenberg. Nice to see you. I'm Relic Sun, Lead Deputy County Counsel, here with my colleagues. Nancy Romero, who is a management analyst with EOD, and we really want to thank Nancy for taking the laboring oar on compiling the data for the report that is presented to you today. And Equal Opportunity Supervisor Elise Rivas, who oversees our EOD's investigations team. Thank you to EOD's investigations team for providing their invaluable service to this county organization.
Thank you. Is there a presentation you would like to provide today, or are we ready to go straight to the questioning, Supervisor Ellenberg?
Your call on this one. Happy to go either
Yeah.
way.
Do you have anything you would like to present briefly, or we could just move straight to questions?
We did provide a report and a presentation to go with it, and I'm happy to walk through the presentation
please?
for
Go
you.
ahead. Thank you.
Sure.
Bless you.
Sir.
can screen share it from the PDF if that's helpful.
Relic, is it helpful to have James share the presentation? Is it helpful to have James share the presentation from the PDF?
Yep, it's up now.
Oh, great. Oh,
Oh, it's wrong.
It's right.
That's true. Look nice, though.
That's the item 10 presentation.
Do you want to go ahead?
There we go.
Thank you.
I'm just sharing this from the attachment.
All right, thank you, James.
All right, so on the first page, we have the overview of the reporting period, and it just gives you, if we go to, there we go. Just a quick snapshot, the number of complaints received and number of complaints closed in the calendar year of 2023, and then a snapshot in time in January 2024 in terms of how many open complaints there were. Next slide informs you on the bases of allegations of the complaints that were received. And so you have a chart there. Happy to answer any questions if you have. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then we have the complaints received by, based on respondent agency. And this
Did
chart,
these, sorry if you don't mind, can you share or show us if the number of complaints is proportionate to the size of each department? Certainly in raw numbers, the vast majority are in the healthcare system, but I don't know if that's a higher proportion than the others or even a smaller.
yes, so that's a great question. We address that in our report. Let me see if I can point you to where it is in the report. On page 5 of 16, we have a breakdown by the respondent's department and agency where we explain that the highest number of complaints that EOD received involved respondent from SCVH.
Right.
And the social services agencies, and these numbers are fairly comparable to the approximate percentage of the coded position that each agency has. And we provide that breakdown in that paragraph as well. It's approximately 40.7% and 12.7% respectively of the county coded positions. So it's fairly comparable for the two agencies that have the largest number of complaints.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the next slide has the investigation length for the number of cases closed. And this is the investigation length for all equal opportunity related complaints. So it includes those that EOD investigates itself and also ones that are investigated by external agencies. And then we provide the outcome of the cases that EOD has fully investigated and issued a report on so that you can see the rough percentage of those that are sustained or partially sustained compared to those that were not sustained as equal opportunity violations. And here we have a little bit of a historical perspective on the number of EOD complaints received and closed annually from 2018 to 2023.
So again, just looking at raw numbers, the percentage increased, but also the size of our population, of our employee population, increased significantly after 2020 with the purchase of O'Connor and St. Louis. So does the increase in number of cases received, again, remain proportionate to a smaller workforce, or that 49% more cases, is that, are the, I'm so sorry, it's hard for me to figure out the right words to ask these. Does it reflect the relative sizes of our population, of our employee population, or are we getting a higher percentage per employee of complaints?
That's an excellent question. We have not broken down that, those numbers specifically, but I'm happy to do that and provide that information off agenda if you would. If
Thanks.
that's
Yeah, I
desirable.
think it would be critical on a bar chart like this to note the number of employees
We can do that.
each year.
One thing to note, which is also in the report, is that prior to 2020, the way that EOD calculated number of complaints was slightly different, and so that is in part what contributes to the increase as well.
That's an important note, too, because what I think about, of course, is members of the public, media, somebody taking a look at this slide and just thinking somehow that we are doing much worse by our employees, which I hope is not the case, but I can't definitively say one way or another from this presentation.
Okay.
Maybe James.
I would just note there's actually a huge number of factors that make the analysis complex. So obviously the employee count did grow slightly, not 49%, but did grow slightly. But in addition, there was a major bolus of complaints associated with COVID policies. Many, many, many complaints. And so that occurred during this relevant time period as well. So in addition to the system changes that Relic noted, but I just wanted to note that. So it's a complicated
Yeah.
picture to sort out.
So, and listing those factors, I think, is really helpful, even if you're not doing a deep analysis, to have that in your mind. I didn't even think about the COVID complaints, but of course, that could certainly account for a jump up in 21 and 22.
Yes, and so we've explained that in the report where we have a little bit more space to provide a little bit more detailed background on this. And it includes the explanation for the difference in the way that EOD's accounting of number of complaints has changed
I see that.
to reflect better practices in terms of tracking and also shortening investigation lengths. And then we also accounted for the additional 30-plus complaints that were closed in 2022, for example, that were specific to the religious discrimination complaints as a result of the vaccination mandate and the reasonable accommodation processes. So there's more detail in the report, but I also take the point that the chart itself, could also in the future provide a little bit more explanation. Thank you.
Sure. It's generally, I think people are more likely to look at charts and kind of simplified visuals of information rather than read reports, although I want everybody to be a careful, thorough reader. So thank you.
Okay. This slide has been presented in the past as well. It basically introduces EOD's educational intervention process, which is a streamlined investigation process in the interest of more efficiently addressing certain types of complaints, where even if the allegations were true, would not result in discipline. And it's more focused on discussions, coaching, and training. And it has been rather successful in the past 2 years since it's been implemented.
Yeah, I saw that 18 of those occurred in 2023. Are you noticing any pattern? Are there specific types of behavior or situations to which this education intervention is the most responsive and impactful?
So there's various different types, but what comes to mind is generally that sometimes there are certain comments that county employees may make or personnel may make where the individual making the comments do not realize that what they're saying may be offensive to somebody else, but it really is something that is low level, and through education is the best way to address and resolve the issues between two people. And so in those situations, it's been very successful as opposed to launching a formal investigation.
Right. And do we incorporate those new kind of learnings in our broad training, since if they happen a number of times that you're aware of, they probably happen more often that don't get to you.
Yes, that's correct.
Cool.
They're incorporated in our sexual harassment prevention trainings that are required every 2 years for county employees, as well as other trainings provided through LED and also EOD.
Thanks.
All right, so the next slide is a report back on the completed management audit recommendations, and we're happy to report that EOD has implemented all 27 audit recommendations that involved recommendations for EOD, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
If it's all right, I have just one more question since I peppered them through the presentation, which I appreciate your answering as you went. I think it would be interesting to include some sort of crosstab data so that we can maybe compare most common allegations across individual respondent agencies and outcomes. I think sometimes the aggregate data can potentially obscure opportunities for improvement at a particular department level. You're nodding. Is that something you're already thinking of and working on?
We're happy to provide that in the next annual report, if that would be desirable.
That would be excellent. Yeah. Thank you very much. So I will move approval, receipt of the report with direction to include crosstab data in next year's report. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yes, I'll second that. Anybody would like to speak on this item on the public?
We have no speakers.
Great, thank you. I share the same concerns regarding some of the chart, because if you just look at the chart itself, based on the raw data of the number of complaints being filed, looks like our number just keep going up every year, right? So I think it's so important for us to be able to identify, I know it's been written on the report, but I think it's so important to be able to identify more clearly some of the major causes of why those numbers has gone up. In this case, we talk about COVID during the time from 2020 to 2023, we certainly have a lot of those type of issues. So if we could isolate those, then I think it would give a better identification of the other reasons why the EOD are having some of these other complaints, number one. Second thing I want to ask to see if you could give a data in terms of year for year. I don't know if this is something you can do, is regarding the outcomes of the sustained, partially sustained versus the non-sustained ones. Right now, I see the charts showing that, hey, 26% is sustained, partially sustained versus 74% is not sustained. But that's only for that 1 year, I believe. So if we could do it on an annual basis, just lay out this data, I think that'll be helpful for us to see, because that, I think, is a good way of seeing the trend if there's a real problem. If our amount of cases being sustained is higher and higher, then clearly we have a problem. Versus if it turns out that more of cases not sustained, then maybe is something more that could be handled at the lower level and whatnot. So I think that those are the better way for us to see. And again, we could in so many ways do much with our data, but I think like the crosstab as suggested by Supervisor Allenberg, I think would be very helpful for us to be able to go through and learn from this process. At the end of the day, too, is the second highest item being complained about is retaliation. And from the legal point of view, retaliation is actually one of those issues that is very difficult to win in court in general of those cases, because even though a finding of discrimination of sort did not happen, the finding of retaliation in itself is a cause of a problem for the county, right? James, I just want to confirm that understanding.
Retaliation-based complaints definitely are a challenge. I would, note that, one of the things that's also not shown here is how many complaints there might be from a specific complainant, and there certainly are individuals who file many, many complaints too, and many of those sometimes fall into that category as well. So, it's complex, and from a employment law standpoint, the laws in California have moved in one direction for the last several years, and so these are also can be challenging issues to address. when they do move into litigation stage, which only a small number do.
Right, yes, go ahead.
Just
Stars
a
Lambert.
follow-up on something that James said, and I imagine this is in the report, and maybe I missed it, but do you distinguish duplicated claims by the single person from overall claims?
So I think there might, so we do distinguish duplicate complaints. I think what the county executive is saying, at least what I'm hearing, however, which is what I believe to be true, is that there may be a particular complainant who may make multiple non-duplicative complaints, but they perceive that every action that is taken by a manager or supervisor may be retaliatory from their perspective. And so it could be that there may be a number of non-sustained complaints that one particular individual has filed. So in those situations, it would still be counted as separate complaints, and they would be counted as separate cases closed by EOD, depending on how the allegations come in, if they file them at different times or the nucleus facts might be different. But generally, if it is a true duplicate complaint, EOD would account for that and deduplicate that count. Is that correct, Ms. Rivas?
Okay, so if that's the case.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. On this chart on the EOD complaints received and closed by the year, to me, it would be very helpful to actually have a third column to basically says number of individuals filing these complaints. Because if there are lots of duplicates, right, then the number of individuals will be much smaller. So I think that could be helpful to also see, because based on the number of individuals filing the complaint year to year, that absolutely is a very important data point for us to see how bad or how good situations. That make sense?
That makes sense, and it's an excellent point. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we would just add that in the future. That would be great to the motion. Thank you. All right. Yes, we already did. Exactly. No, we have a motion. We already closed public hearing, and we're good to go, ready to take a vote.
Vice Chairperson Ellenberg,
Yes.
Chairperson Lee,
Yes, as well. Thank
motion
you.
carries.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have already added item 8 and item 9 to the consent, so we move toward item number 10, which is our monthly legislative report from the Office of Intergovernmental Relations. And I see, well, I definitely do not see Mr. David Campos on coming, but I see him on the TV, so I know he's on big screen.
I'm on Zoom.
On Zoom, yes.
Chair Lee, good
So,
morning.
Good morning. And I do see our other team members. I see our legislative manager, Monica Tong, and I'll let you introduce your team over there. Thank you.
Monica, you want to start?
Yes, we are ready to go. Good morning,
Good morning.
Chair Lee and Vice Chair Ellenberg. Thanks for having us this morning. Monica Tong, Program Manager 3, on behalf of Intergovernmental Relations in the Office of the County Executive. Please note that the slides in the presentation reflect the point in time when they were created and submitted, so they don't reflect the most recent information, but our oral presentation will. I am joined today by our Deputy County Executive, David Campos from Sacramento. But before I turn it over to David, joining me in person today are Elaine Trin from the Office of the County Executive and Mary Hannah Weir from the Office of the County Council. And I'll turn it over to you, David.
Thank you very much, Monica. Good morning, Chair Lee, President Ellenberg, David Campos from Sacramento. Before we begin our brief report on where things are with the legislative session here in Sacramento, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce two very important players and members of our team. And I'm going to give them an opportunity to briefly introduce themselves so that I can then begin our presentation. But we're thrilled to introduce you to Aaron Evans-Fuden, who joined the team in May and is the Legislative Deputy County Counsel who is registered as a lobbyist and is here full-time in Sacramento, and we're thrilled to have her. So I'm going to turn it over to Erin to briefly introduce herself.
Good morning, Chair Lee and President Ellenberg. It's great to join you all. This is my first meeting with you all, so I'm very pleased to be on board with the team and getting to know many folks at the county. I'm Erin Evans Feudum. I've been an attorney for about 10 years and a lobbyist for 15. I've spent my entire career doing policy work with a sort of a deep interest as well as a focus of my work on serving local agencies. So I'm very pleased to be able to join your team here at the county. Thank you.
And I know that each of you will interact with Erin in the near future, and you will see for yourselves why we were lucky to have her on our team. Monica, if you can move to the next slide, because I think this will illustrate the point. If you can do that. Maybe the next one. Yeah, there you go. I think going back to the time that James Williams was county council, the county council's office has played a very important role in the legislative affairs of the county. And under Tony Lopresti, that tradition has continued, and I am pleased to I think some of you are aware of this, just highlight the fact that Tony and Kavita have created a legislative team that is a group of 6 attorneys that is assigned to help with different pieces of legislation so that we can continue to be as proactive and even be more proactive. So I just want to take this opportunity to introduce Mary, who is the head of that legislative team, and she is with you in chambers. So just give Mary an opportunity to say hi and say something about herself.
Good morning, supervisors, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm Mary Hannah Weir, Lead Deputy County Counsel. As David mentioned, we recently created the Legislative Affairs team, which in addition to Erin and myself includes 5 other Deputy County Counsels who use a portion of their time to support the county's legislative affairs work. We have organized ourselves to support each of the board's policy committees, including the Federal Affairs Advocacy Task Force. And so we're excited to build this team together and to work collaboratively with the county executive and his team as we improve the county's work in both Sacramento and DC. And it's a pleasure to be with you here today.
So we're very excited about, what this means for the county, and again, enhancing the county's visibility, but also continuing on this tradition of the county being seen in Sacramento as the go-to county on a number of complicated issues. So let me begin by reporting on where things are in Sacramento by saying that, as you know, we've had a number of priorities, but at the very top of that list, because of the financial implications in that issue, is excess ERAF. And I am happy and proud to report that the budget that has been tentatively approved and will be voted on does not include the excess ERAF proposal by Governor Newsom. And it took a lot of work on the part of everyone in the county. And I want to thank the Board of Supervisors, President Ellenberg, Vice President Lee, and all of the members of the board who, in the last few months, you have played an important role in reaching out to our delegation. And Santa Clara County, quite frankly, of the 5 excess ERAF counties, played, the leadership role in unifying the county, sending a letter, and really doing a lot of the heavy lifting about around the advocacy. And so we're proud of this outcome, but we suspect that we're not out of the woods until the budget situation gets better in Sacramento. So we suspect that this issue might come back next year. And of course, to our county executive, who has been involved in every aspect of this advocacy, and we are sending thank you letters that will be signed by President Ellenberg and the county executive in the very near term. So I just wanted to begin with that piece of the report, and then I will turn it over to Monica.
Great, thank you. Since our last update, the legislature has definitely been busy in policy committees, hearing bills from the other house. And as David mentioned, the joint legislative budget proposal was released in early June, and the final budget package was completed over the weekend. I will turn it over to Erin in a little while to provide additional budget highlights shortly. But there are a few upcoming key dates on the legislative calendar. Next week, July 3rd, represents the last day for policy committees to hear and report bills, and their summer recess will begin upon adjournment. The recess is really used for discussions about bills and meetings with the governor's office as they head down to his desk. The legislature will return on August 5th for the last sprint, 4 weeks until the end of the legislative session for the 2-year cycle. And the last day to pass bills for the 2023-2024 session is August 31st. And the governor will have until September 30th to sign or veto bills. Next slide, please. We will now provide a quick update on the status of the county's sponsored and co-sponsored bills. AB 3035, authored by Assemblymember Gail Pellerin, regarding worker housing, passed the Senate Committee on Housing with a 9-0 vote on June 4th, and it will be heard tomorrow in Senate Local Government Committee. SB 1317, authored by Senator Aisha Wahab, will extend the sunset date on process for obtaining involuntary medication orders for individuals with severe mental health disorders in our custody. This bill passed the Assembly Public Safety Committee on June 18th with a 7-0 vote and is now in the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Next slide, thank you. AB 491 passed Senate Local Gov on May 30th with a 7-0 vote, and it is being heard by Senate Judiciary now. So that we will have the result for that shortly. AB 1957 was passed out of the Senate Local Government Committee on May 29th with a 7-0 vote and was quickly passed by the Senate Appropriations Committee and was on consent on the Senate floor and is now on the governor's desk for signature. So yay for that. AB 3079 we reported last month was held by Assembly Appropriations and is no longer moving forward this session. AB 3260 will be heard by Senate Health tomorrow, June 26th. SB 294 by Senator Wiener is on the agenda for Assembly Appropriations tomorrow, June 26th. SB 333, the bill that we were all able to see in committee last week when that picture was taken with Senator Cortese, passed on a 6-0 vote and is waiting for Assembly Appropriations. SB 1193, related to leaded avgas, passed out of transportation on June 17th with an 11-1 vote and will be heard by Assembly Local Gov tomorrow. And really quickly, we wanted to highlight that President Ellenberg hosted a state delegation meeting via Zoom on June 6th, where our county executive, James Williams, provided updates on excess ERAF, additional budget issues, and regional medical center. And at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Aaron in Sacramento for the budget highlight.
Well, good morning again. So as Monica mentioned, the governor and legislative leaders reached essentially a budget deal on Saturday. This is likely the last round. You may have noticed in recent years, the legislature has done 2 to 3 rounds of budgeting. This represents the last round of budgeting expected this year before the fiscal year begins in a few days. The announcement balances the budget for the next 2 fiscal years, so with an expectation that even after this fiscal year, the budget is somewhat balanced until 2025-26. Of course, this will depend on tax revenues that the state sees coming in as well, and they'll still do more budgeting for the next fiscal year. So what's in the budget? I think, really what's not in the budget this year is most important for us. As David mentioned, the legislature rejected the governor's excess ERAF funding shift proposal. Absolutely commend the work of this board as well as the work of my staff colleagues. In addition, public health has retained most of the investments that the state has been making in those programs. So there is $276.1 million being dedicated to both local and state public health programs. However, about $41 million has been reverted back to the state, and this is just unspent operational funds from prior years. In the Victims of Crime Act, there's $103 million that will backfill a loss of federal funds. However, no real specific distribution yet on how that money will go out. And then finally, in terms of our priorities, the budget includes the MCO tax to Medicare providers. This is going to generate $689 million in this fiscal year, increasing up to $1.3 billion expected in 2026-27. And this funding will also support some targeted Medi-Cal rate increases. In terms of process, the Assembly Budget Committee heard these bills, heard the Budget Bill Junior that amends the prior budget bill action this morning, as well as about 18 trailer bills. The Senate budget is expected to have a similar hearing tomorrow, and then bills will be voted on the floor by Thursday. So that's the expectation as well as the process, and we're happy to answer any questions. Turning it back to Monica, I believe.
Go ahead, Monica. Anything else? Monica, anything else to add?
Nope, happy to take any questions that you may have.
Very good. Anybody in public would like to ask any questions? Otherwise, I'll go ahead and close public hearing.
We have no speakers.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and close public hearing. Yes, Supervisor Ellenberg, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll start with just a procedural question. If the budget is basically baked at this point, yet there are pending bills that have financial appropriations attached to them, how does that fit if those bills don't need to be signed until the end of August or by the governor until September? How does the budget accommodate for them?
David, would you like me to take this?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Aaron.
Great. Thanks for the question. And it's a very good question, President Ellenberg, because it gets a little bit complicated. Essentially, the legislature tries to, and the governor has really put some importance on this process in recent years. The legislature tries to pay for things through the budgeting process, and including paying for pending legislation that will ultimately, hopefully, land on the governor's desk. So it's a little bit of a complicated, sorry, I lost my lighting, thing to explain, but often, if you have a very expensive piece of legislation that you as a sort of outside stakeholder to the state process, let's say the county, if we're trying to push legislation, we may have a sort of companion budget request that goes along with a legislative ask that we know will cost the state money. And then we seek that appropriation through the budget process, which will help implement the legislation. Did that make any sense?
It makes sense. It's an interesting.
I would just
Yeah,
add.
and then what happens?
Yeah, James, go
Sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to add that probably one of the most common veto messages from both Governor Brown and Governor Newsom is a veto message that says this should be addressed through the budget process because it's expensive.
Right.
I think that's probably the single most common veto message on a bill.
So the money, if there was a companion, as Aaron mentioned, and nice to meet you, Aaron, companion budget ask that, as you indicated, makes it more likely for that bill to pass. Number one, if that bill doesn't pass, what happens to the money that was allocated in the budget? And number two, why would anyone do a bill like this at this time of year without a companion budget ask? That may be just a
Yeah, I mean, if I may, President Ellenberg.
yeah,
I think
inside baseball strategic.
Yes, it's in some respects, it's the, when you come out and do a companion budget ask, you are acknowledging that your bill will cost a certain amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And in this climate, even though that allocates the funds, it actually makes it less likely that your bill will move forward. So I think that that's a strategic decision that the author, has to make. We have, for instance, a bill tomorrow that we are actually co-sponsoring by Senator Wiener, which, has been tagged with a pretty large cost, which in this climate, even though it's a good legislative idea, may not move forward because of the cost. So it is a complicated dance and analysis that has to be made on a bill-by-bill basis.
Thank you. And speaking of Senator Wiener, I want to acknowledge and thank James Williams, David Yu, and our IGR team for really the tremendous success, temporary or not, with regard to keeping excess ERAF out of the budget. And I know that Senators Wiener and Laird just demonstrated incredible leadership on this, a deep understanding of the issues. I will thank them personally, but wanted to do a public appreciation as well to the two of them, as well as the pro tem, Mark McGuire, I understood was very influential on the ERAF issue. He's from one of the impacted counties, so that was really gratifying to see. Also, our entire delegation sent a letter of support on our behalf to help compel regional medical to have to maintain its stroke, heart attack, and trauma services. And I know that there are still ongoing discussions about whether in fact the Public Health Department will, for the first time ever, exert its actual authority to require that these services be kept available to the population in East San Jose. So those appreciations. And finally, would love to hear any of your thoughts on propositions or ballots that we're looking at in November. I know there's still jockeying there as well as to what will actually be approved, and we're only a couple of days away from that. Are there any bills or propositions that our county should be particularly encouraged about or concerned about?
I can share a few thoughts on that process. So there is a lot of activity happening this week because the deadline is, I think, Thursday or Friday for placement of measures on the ballot.
Right.
On the good news front, the California Supreme Court bounced the Business Roundtable initiative that the board unanimously opposed in early June. That was an excellent decision, very positive news. Although an assembly member did yesterday introduce a bill to purport to move that forward as a constitutional revision, I don't think that's going to be a successful path. But that's positive news. ACA 1, which is already on the ballot related to lowering the threshold for general obligation bonds, is going through a process of being amended. And so that's expected to occur, which will supplant a number of provisions of that proposal. It's going to narrow it to be just focused on bonds, but it will broaden slightly the categories that would be eligible for that funding. Okay. So we will have an analysis once that has happened, and we will probably bring an item to the August board meeting to recommend that the board support that ballot measure. The other item that we're very closely tracking is the managed care organization tax. There's an initiative that's already qualified for the ballot. There are negotiations underway about whether that'll move forward or be modified, and so we're keeping a close eye on that as well, and kind of what position the governor's office
Do we know the
takes on
nature
that.
of the modifications at this point?
We're not aware of any specific modifications, although the budget does do things related to that funding that would not be allowed to happen if the initiative as currently written were adopted by the voters. So that's something we're tracking. We'll have more information next week once this deadline passes. Those are probably the most significant. There's a number of other measures that have either independently qualified for the ballot through voter processes, like increasing the minimum wage. There's another of other items that the legislature is looking to try to put on the ballot, including items like ACA 5 that the board voted to support at its last meeting. And then the legislature is also trying to clear the plate a little bit and has withdrawn, for example, an item that it previously put on the ballot to rescind California's unique constitutional voter approval requirement for affordable housing. It's the only state in the nation with that in the Constitution. It was actually has a very troubling history of why that provision was adopted, and I think around 1950. There was an initiative, or an item that the legislature had referred to the ballot for voters to rescind that just got removed from the ballot because there was concern there were just too many items on the ballot to run successful campaigns. So I don't know, my gut sense based on that is that probably several of the pending items won't move forward, given concern about just how many items are scheduled for the November election, knowing that it's very expensive to run a successful statewide campaign on a ballot initiative.
And if I may add to what County Executive said, President Ellenberg and Chair Lee, on ACA 1, which lowers the threshold, that is now ACA 10. And the big issue for us was that at some point in the conversation, there was a discussion about perhaps taking out the approval for public works that would essentially would only allow the measure to focus on housing, which was a problem for us because we have hospital systems that require that we go to the voters. So we made it clear that that would be a concern for us, and Speaker Rivas and his staff were very responsive to that inquiry. So that is back in the measure, and as it's moving forward, it will allow us to go to the voters with a hospital bond if that's what the board decides to do. There are still questions about how the scope of the housing piece. There are some issues of whether housing projects for 1 to 4 units are actually allowed in the way that the measure is written. So there are still ongoing conversations on that. And then beyond that, it's what the county exec said, which is the MCO, questions around, what that will look like and whether it goes on the ballot. That's the big challenge. But we will keep the board informed. That's why we're here, because there's still a lot of work to be done between now and next week. And so a lot of moving parts. So it's not all done yet. And I will turn it to Erin if she has anything to add.
I just want to ask a quick question first about the MCO. If no tax goes on if nothing goes on the ballot, when does that tax expire?
I think it currently expires January of 26, I think.
So before the 2026 cycle.
Yeah.
So is that problematic for us?
Yes.
We support the initiative. I mean, we originally wanted the initiative actually slightly modified to deal with the dollar cap on public hospital funding. But compared to the administration's proposal and where the legislature is at, we're supportive of the text of the initiative as it currently stands. So it's something we're going to closely continue to monitor, and we will certainly have a lot more information next week.
Great, thank you.
Erin, do you want to add anything?
Nothing to add at this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks so much for the comprehensive report. There's a lot. We could talk easily a full day about what the budget looks like for California. It's a huge budget. In the meantime, I do have this 5-page kind of a 2024 budget amendment produced. Yes, Monica, from your office, correct? Is this something that came from your office or from Sacramento? Are you aware of?
Sorry, that's kind of far, but.
Oh, I think that document, I'm just looking at, I think that's from the governor's office.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that came from the yes.
Okay, so David, it's a pretty good summary, I guess, from the governor's office of explaining what are the different things that have happened to us. My question always is, well, how does that affect me? Or how does that affect our county? Is there any way we could actually have a little table being made to go through some of these item by item to kind of explain no impact to us versus, okay, this will get us $200 million?
The board will be getting a memo with county-specific details and information, and then the very specific impacts to Santa Clara County often take sometimes a few months, because in many cases they depend on administrative actions that affect certain formulas. And that's why we always tell the board we can't really address state-based impacts until the second August meeting or the September meeting of
Correct.
the board, because it
Right.
often takes actually several weeks to get some of that information. But the top line information specific to counties should be coming to the board later this week or next week.
Great, yeah.
And if I can add to that, Supervisor Chair Lee, there will be a memo that we're preparing that once it's reviewed by county executive, that will go to the board to provide a highlight of kind of what's happened. But we're waiting until the budget is actually finalized and passed, because
Right.
we're not sure what the details will actually look like until it's voted on.
Right, yeah, I mean, the thing is, as we know, until the vote taking place, there's still lots of moving parts.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so once that happened, I think to us it would be very helpful to then truly understand what is in the budget and how that would affect us this next coming fiscal year, which of course, as we understand, would not be easy either. So the really, really good news is the excess ERAF for at least this one coming year we were able to save from being grabbed from Sacramento. And how many millions of dollars is that we talking about, James?
That specific aspect of the excess ERAF issue is about $36 million to us ongoing and growing, and another $11 million to our cities.
Right. So, yeah, so in that sense, we're talking about $47 million has been saved between the county and the city.
On an
because of
annual
that.
basis,
On an annual
yeah.
basis. So this is a
Big deal.
huge deal. And I just want to make that point very, very clear and thank our staff for all the hard work of gathering signatures and chasing down individual assembly members, signing them. That has not been an easy feat, and texting back and forth. So I just want to thank you for those hard work of late nights and weekends to make that happen. The MCO issue is certainly something very important to us. So if you could provide us some updates moving forward,
Yes.
I really appreciate that, since this is something that affect our bottom line so directly on our managed care OGS tax issues. All in all, I would say, despite how difficult this year has been for our county and for the state and the amount of money we're coming through, I think we kind of sneak by, and with a lot of hard work from staff. I want to give a lot of kudos to our team here, led by our county exec, James Williams, and everybody else that has worked so hard at Sacramento to fight for these fundings and whatnot to make sure that we are being heard. The fight is never over until the vote is done, at least for this year. So I just want to give strong, great kudos to all of you, and keep up the good fight. And hopefully, when the final budget's passed, no new surprises that get sneaked in at the end of the day. As we know, sometimes that type of stuff happens in Sacramento. All right. That being said, I have a motion to accept this,
So moved.
and I was going to second that as well.
And if I can just share a
Yes, go
quick
ahead.
comment, I just want to thank both of you for your comments of recognition to the entire IGR team. I just want to add my own words. It's been a really significant lift this year, very difficult state fiscal picture. We have done exceedingly well in our efforts, and that's thanks to the energy and effort, creativity, and consistency and real strong advocacy on behalf of the county and our interests. And so I want to thank David. I want to thank the county council and county executive teams that have worked really hard on that. It is a continuing fight. We know, for example, excess ERAF is going to keep coming up, and we're going to continue to keep advocating for our communities, given how vital it is as a revenue source. And I think this work really shows just how effectively we have done by combining resources between administration and county council on legislation, and the investment that we have made, which is very different than other counties in California, in having a robust physical presence in Sacramento, having a robust team, and having a team that is working so closely with our delegation. And thanks to the leadership of President Ellenberg in helping organize our delegation, but working with our delegation, but also working throughout the year with folks in Sacramento to provide education, resources, be available, be on top of things. And we're going to just keep building on these efforts, given the deep fiscal and regulatory relationship between counties and the state, and the unique things that we try to do here in Santa Clara County.
Great, thank you so much, James. And I do want to echo one last item regarding the excess ERAF. We had some challenges trying to get some of our local school officials and school board leaders to support our issues. Having the mistaken thought, I think they believe that this is more of a zero-sum game. When the county does not get the funding to do the work, it hurts everybody in the county. And I think that's so important point that we need to make sure that we do a better job messaging and educating our school board leaders that this is something that really should not be a fight between us and them. This is something that we should stand together on. So I just want to make that point clear because again, this issue is not going away. It will happen again, but I think it's important to make sure that we stay together so that this would be an issue that we could move on because it's the, like I said, excess ERAF. This is funding that's been taken excess from our property tax on a yearly basis due to the very high valuation costs, which is very unique to those counties, the 9 counties here in Bay Area. So I just want to make sure that's understood by our school board leaders and not make it into a fight that we continue to have on this issue in the future. So I want to make that point clear. And again, also regarding this this proposal that the Supreme Court has ruled on, I'm very pleased that we are not having to deal with it this time around. And if that whoever assembly member is trying to revive it, we'll definitely strongly oppose it moving forward to make sure this is not like the what you call it, those horror movies that keep coming back. Ready? So let's make sure we put that one to bed. That being said, thank you again for everybody for all the hard work this year. And this is our last meeting for this fiscal year for FGOC. And I just want to remind everybody that we are moving to the end of agenda. Our next meeting will be held on August 14th at 10 a.m. And any further comments, James? Anybody else?
We have to vote to accept the
Oh,
report.
I'm sorry. We still haven't taken a vote yet. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, please.
Move receipt of the IGR report.
Vice Chairperson Ellenberg,
Take a vote.
Yes.
Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Motion
Thank you,
carries.
Limbury, for reminding us because we're going so quickly here. But other than that, just wish everybody a good break in July and thank you for all the wonderful work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting agenda.